The USS Abraham Lincoln is on the move, and the stakes couldn't be higher. As of January 20, 2026, the latest U.S. Naval Institute report shows the Nimitz-class aircraft carrier was transiting westbound through the Andaman Sea just after passing the Strait of Malacca. Its destination, the Arabian Sea, placing it within striking distance of Iran. But here's the twist. The Lincoln has gone completely dark. Its AIS transponders are switched off, a standard security measure for sensitive operations, yet one that adds a heavy dose of uncertainty amid rising US-Iran tensions. At transit speeds of 20 to 25 knots, the carrier could reach the Arabian Sea in less than 48 hours. That puts the clock on a potential confrontation with Iran officially ticking. The Lincoln isn't alone. Accompanying it are three destroyers, the USS Frank E. Peterson Jr., USS Spruance, and USS Michael Murphy, all armed with Aegis missile systems and long-range Tomahawks. Meanwhile, the carrier's air wing includes up to 90 aircraft, from F-18 Super Hornets to F-35C Lightning IIs, capable of long-range strikes with aerial refueling. Hours from now, the carrier could establish a patrol in the Arabian Sea, placing it just a few hundred miles from Iranian territory, a position that allows the U.S. to respond immediately to any provocations. Air reinforcements are already in place. F-15E Strike Eagles have been deployed to Jordan, C-17 cargo flights have delivered crucial equipment, and coalition partners like the UK are coordinating Typhoon fighter patrols. This is more than a single ship. It's a full-scale show of force. The Lincoln's rapid deployment, tracker blackout, and full combat readiness sent a stark message. The U.S. is ready to act if tensions with Iran escalate. But the question on everyone's mind is, will this be a standoff or the opening countdown to conflict?
All right, Shalom. I'd like to start off saying, Call Halayim La Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Harikak Radash Ma'amath. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, double honors to our elder apostle as well, her one Barney Yashar, down here in the Lions in Camp. Salutations to the Arkin of the person of truth, sincerity, and truth, and peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Right on Canucks on Barney Yashar from the Lions of the Yashar Camp. And this is another Lions in News and Prophecy. So, we're going to get it. All right. So start it off. This is Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 1. It says, Speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause it to be written on paper, because they are faithful and true. All right. And that's what we do. That's what the real men of the Lord do. They prophesy the things that are spoken in spirit of Yahweh Shem Shai, what's coming to pass, and give people the judgment and give the elect instructions and opportunity at salvation. Um, we got a lot of things going on right now, according to prophecy. The whole thing with Three Eye Atlas. The elder shared some footage of the movement of Three Eye Atlas, and also of voices coming out of Three Eye Atlas. You see that? And so man, it's here, man. The way DJ Nero 47 is moving. Um, Apostle Hard just deemed last week saying we are Jacob's trouble is here. You know, so we're witnessing a lot of things that are happening on earth that we've been speaking of before these things come to pass, and that's how you know that we were sent by Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. Verse 3, it says, Fear not the imagination against thee, let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak evil against thee. Like the incredulity meaning their unbeliefs. I mean, we've been preaching this day in and day out, you know, and people. choose to turn a deaf ear, or it was chosen for them to turn a deaf ear to it, and but they're going to be caught. It's gonna catch them unexpectedly, like a thief in the night. See that? So it says, "For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness." Right.
Could it
All right. It says, I'll read it again. It says, Second Ezra 15:4. It says, "For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness." Right. They don't have faith in anything, but the just is going to live by faith. Even though we see all these calamities coming on the earth, we're going to still be, what I'm saying, rooted in the faith in Yahweh by Shem Shai. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 4. It says, "Behold, his soul which is lifted up," talking about Esau, "is not upright in him." Right? So, you know, um, to, he's a, it says upright, to be straight, to be level, to be lawful, just, to be smooth. Right? See, Esau's made crooked, you know. All right. It says to be straight, the straight way. But Esau is not. So you're gonna have 2/3 of our people fall a victim to the crooked ways of Esau because he transgresses by wine, confusion, or wickedness. It says, "But the just shall live by his faith." Right. That's what's going to keep us. We're rooted in the righteousness in the faith. Our righteousness comes from faith in Yahweh by Shem Shai, because we're you know without the covering of Yahweh Shai, the Lord doesn't see us any different from these other nations at this point. He's just seeing judgment. Anything outside the image of Yahweh Shai he sees red judgment. He only sees peace with those that are covered with the blood of Yahweh Shai. Right? So we're no better, but what makes us better is we live. What makes us upright is we live by the faith in Yahweh by Shem Shai. See that? So back to Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 5, it says, Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world." Right. And this is what we're witnessing. It says the sword, famine, death, and destruction. And with the USS Abraham Lincoln making a move like that, that's exactly what that's about. It's the Lord setting the stage for his ultimate judgment on the earth. Um, that's why you have Iran finally standing up to the United States after all these years of the United States bullying. So it said, "I will bring plague upon the world." The sword. Sword is what is the sword used for? War. See that? Sword is used for war. So the Lord is bringing war on the earth. All right. This is Jeremiah 50 and 22. It says, "A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction." See that? So Yahweh Shema Shai is setting the stage for his ultimate judgment he's going to bring on the earth. Is how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? See that? That this whole that war type spirit, like how they had in World War II, ready to bomb everything, spirit that America has on it right now, is all being provoked by Yahweh Shema Shai. It's being installed in him by Yahweh Shema Shai to promote his will. You see that? What does it say when they're the hammer? They think everything is a nail. They're going in a hammer like force, sending the USS Abraham Lincoln over there. Let's see. All right, it says, let me see. It says USS. Abraham Lincoln, the CVN-72, is the fifth Nimitz class aircraft carrier. All right, a Nimitz class is a class of 10 nuclear powered aircraft carriers in service with the United States Navy. All right, the lead ship of the class is named after the World War II United States Pacific Fleet commander, Fleet Admiral Chester W. Nimitz, who was the last living U.S. Navy officer to hold rank. All right, so it says, so it's going back to this Abraham Lincoln. It says she is the third Navy ship to be named after the former president Abraham Lincoln. Her home port is NAS North Island, San Diego, California. She is a member of the United States Pacific Fleet. She is administratively responsible to Commander Naval Air Force Pacific and operationally service as the flagship of the Carrier Strike Group 3. Yeah, Strike Group, huh? It says, and host to Carrier Air Wing 9. So they got this roaming around, cut off all of its radar detection so it can't be detected anywhere, and it's headed over to the Jordan Sea River or whatever. And right. So they're going into like being prepared for war. See, the problem is that like America doesn't understand everybody else is preparing for the same thing. This is how about Shemal Shah set the stage. And in another news clipping, I'll probably play that one in a minute. I'll put it in post production. But Trump was saying allegedly what he that how they sent the B-2 bombers to strike a so-called nuclear facility in Iran to stop the nuclear development program. He was bragging about it, you know, talking about how the B-2 bombers came in there stealthily before anything knew it. The job was already done and they couldn't retaliate, and went forth to say he'll do it again. See that? He has pride, but Yahweh Shema Shai has another plan. It says Jeremiah 50 and 22. It says, 23. It says, "How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon became a desolation among the nations?" Right. The Lord's going to explain it. Verse 24. It says, "I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware." See that? The Lord's setting them up. That's why setting Esau and Babylon up. That's why they moving the way they moving, very, very aggressively, not even being like stealthily aggressively at all. Like, sometimes they'll send special forces in there to do the job and you never hear about it, you know? But what they're doing right now, what DJ Nero 47 is doing, he's flexing really hard, man. But he's not aware that he's being set up. So thou art found and also caught because thou hast striven against the Lord. See that? So that's going to bring me into my next point. Yeah, because he's striven against the Lord for what he did to the Lord's people, man. And striven against the Lord, meaning like he's totally against all the laws, statutes, commandments of anything about Yahweh by Shemel Shai. The devil's totally against it. He said Yahweh is not in all his thoughts, none of his thoughts. All right, so let me go to the next clip that goes into the next verse and how DJ Nero 47 was saying that how he was not going to allow Iran to have any nuclear missile capabilities, but Yahweh Shema Shai has different plans. All right, here we go.
When we talked about geopolitical concerns today, we also mentioned Iran, and I made the point that I never thought that Greenland, that geopolitical events would include an actual shooting war. Iran's a different case. It could be tariffs, which you've already announced for Iran. Could be further action than what we've already seen in Iran. Most people think that you probably prevented or the loss of I don't know how many lives for some of the protesters.
Thousands, more than that.
Was that the end of the story, though?
Well,
Mr.
they had one thing specifically that really got me. They were going to hang the old-fashioned hanging. They were going to hang 837 people on Thursday. And I told them, you can't do that. If you do that, it's going to be bad. I don't want to go exactly what I said, but nasty. And they canceled it, hopefully permanently.
But those tariffs are still on, including China. Has China responded to
sanctions?
25% for anyone who does business with Iran, and that will go forward.
Yeah, that's going forward.
That will go forward. There are assets moving into the Gulf, obviously carriers and other things. So a lot of people are wondering whether that's a prelude to further action.
Well, we hope there's not going to be further action, but they're shooting people indiscriminately in the streets. And they were going to look. This was a big thing for me. They were going to hang 830.
Right.
800.
This man said shooting people indiscriminately in the streets. Well, what happens in America with the police? Would they discriminately shoot people in the streets and get away with it? Like all the things that he's naming or painting a narrative to pose Iran as a threat to the Iranian people and a threat to global security are really fits the rap sheet of this place, man. Like all these things he's naming, like guilty of charge for to this place. That's like pot calling the kettle everything.
37, mostly young people.
When you did successfully hit Fordo, you got a lot of grief from the Democrats for doing it. Now, the grief is, oh, you promised to do something in Iran. Now they want you to do, or they're at least finger pointing, say you said you were going to help the protesters, and now you're not. So you can't win.
Well, we had, of course, again, I mean, if I came up with the cure to cancer, they'd say, why didn't you do it faster?
If you walked on water, you can't swim.
Yeah, they're sick people. They really are. They are, we call it Trump derangement syndrome.
Should we stay tuned in Iran? I guess that's my question.
I guess. I mean, look, it's a rough place. It's a place that we hit very hard with the ending the nuclear. They would have had a nuclear weapon long ago. It's actually already, they would have had a nuclear weapon probably a month after we hit, had we not hit. And we hit them hard, the B-2 bombers. We just ordered 25 additional B-2 bombers. They were unbelievable. Those things they were totally undetectable. They were undetected. And think of it with no moon, in the dark of night, late in the evening, every single one of those bombs, and they're giants, every single one of those bombs hit its targets and just obliterated the place. So we're going to find out where they are now about what they're going to do with nuclear. They can't do the nuclear. The one thing I've been strong on, they can't do the nuclear. Now, this attack that we did at the time, which is now a little bit older than what happened in Venezuela recently, which was equally as good, but the attack in Iran, if they do it, it's going to happen again. They've got to stop with the nuclear. They keep experimenting with nuclear, and at some point they're going to get the idea that they can't do that. They're just not going to be able to do that. Can't let them have it.
Right. So, slack you 1 second. Hold on. All right. So,
Establish a patrol in the
all right. So now he said a lot there. He bragged on the fact that how they sent the B-2 bombers into Iran to destroy a alleged nuclear facility, and saying how he's not going to allow them to go nuclear, right? But that's not what Yahweh Shimei Shai has in mind. You see what I'm saying? So let's go into what the Lord says. All right. So now let's start right here. It says Jeremiah 51 and 2. No, 51 and 1. It says, thus saith the Lord, I will rise up against Babylon, against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind. We all know what that destroying wind is. It says, and will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and empty her land, for in the day of the trouble they shall be against her round about. What it say? Swift to run to shed blood. That's what they sending all that strike group over there for, to be swift to run to shed blood. And that's Yahweh Shemel Shai setting them up. And those fanners that it's talking about is talking about enemies. And the destroying wind that it's talking about in verse 1 is talking about the missiles. All right, so now verse 3 is a point. It says, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow. So they're shooting off missiles and stuff like that. But this is going to go nuclear. This is going to go nuclear, right? Let's get that. This is going to go nuclear. This is Isaiah chapter 54, verse 16. It says, behold, I have created the smith. This is Yahweh Shemel Shai talking through Isaiah. That bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. See that? So the Lord created the smith that created these missiles, created these scientists that was able to split the atom and create this force to appease Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Right? This is Jeremiah 50 and 25. It says, the Lord has opened up his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. See that? So the Lord is going to bring forth these weapons. All right. So now, as he was saying, how how they bombed Iran with those B-2 bombers, which are also can go nuclear. Right. It says Jeremiah 51 and 3 says, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifted himself up in his brigadine. All right. So him that's bending his bow, shooting his missiles, right? Shoot them at him, and it's going to go nuclear. This is talking about going nuclear. That's what this is talking about. So now you see it's being set up by Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. It says Jeremiah 51 and 3 again. It says, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, against him that lifted himself up in his brigadine, right? And spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts, man. So that's a judgment that Yahweh Shem Yahushai has for this place, man. So the Lord is leading them right into a snare, right into a trap, and they can't even see it. That's beautiful. And you have all this stuff going on with 3-Eye Atlas and everything like that. So, man, like Scripture said, look up because your salvation is nearer than once we once believe, man. All right, Lord willing, let's edify and serve the purpose for the hope and elect with the ones who truly believe in the name Yahweh Shem Shai. With that, like I said, call Halayim, La Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Harikak Wadash Ma'amath. Double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone, double honors to my elder apostle as well, the Herod one by Yashar, down here in the Lions Den camp. Salutations to the archon that are pushing the truth, sincerity, and truth, and peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in the name Yahweh Shem Shai. Shalom.
Arabian Sea.